You know how we've been talking about how CPS has been failing a ton of children recently? I've been covering cases over the last 2 years here on my page where CPS has failed children. This case right here is another recent example. Well, this right here is Genesis Aria Mata, who was found deceased in a La Quinta Inn bathtub in Bakersfield, California on Saturday. She was at this hotel with her father, 31-year-old Ray Mata Jr., and her stepmother, 27-year-old Graciela Bustamante. Apparently, a third-party individual called authorities on Saturday to report an unresponsive child in the hotel. According to what I am reading, both her father and stepmother left her in the bathtub, abandoned her there. When authorities arrived to the scene, they saw Genesis in the bathtub, unresponsive with substantial trauma to the body. Trigger warning, these details are graphic. Authorities wrote down in the probable cause affidavit that Genesis's fingernails were actually separated from the nail bed on one of her hands due to what they believe was her hand being slammed repeatedly in a door. Her body was said to have had massive blisters and burns all over it, as well as on her face, and there was also skin splitting on her body, indicating that she had been whipped. In a police interview with Genesis's stepmother, she actually tried to turn on her father. She said that Genesis was actually unalived on Friday. She said that she had witnessed her husband, Ray, Genesis's father, suffocating her as well as hitting her. She said that over the last few years, Ray has had a history of being verbally and physically abusive to Genesis as well as her other siblings. She also said that Ray would hit the children with things such as charging cords, wires, as well as clothes hangers. When Ray Mata Jr. was interviewed, he tried to place the blame onto the stepmother. He said that most of the hitting was done by way of her and that she actually had the idea of disciplining Genesis by pouring scalding hot water on her in an attempt to get her to, quote, listen. Ray did admit to hitting Genesis as well as his other children, but he said that everything else was done by way of his wife. Now, according to authorities' investigation, they actually uncovered that there were at least 20 CPS reports made against Ray and his wife, as teachers and staff at the school reported that the children were not showing up frequently, and when they did, they had marks and bruises on their bodies. CPS ultimately cleared the couple multiple times. They did have one active case with CPS, but they were obviously not doing enough to ensure that these children were protected. Now, CPS did find out about all of this, and they did end up issuing a statement. They said that they try their best to ensure that all children are protected, but it's one of their greatest challenges. I understand that things are challenging, but for this specific situation, you have over 20 reports and you can see visible markings on these children and you still do nothing. I mean, that's a little crazy. And both of them ultimately pleaded not guilty, even though Ray had allegedly admitted to hitting Genesis so hard in the stomach that she ended up passing out and not waking back up. A little memorial was set up outside of the motel room where Genesis's body was ultimately found by strangers. People were leaving teddy bears, they were leaving candles in order to pay their respects for this innocent child whose life was taken so senselessly. Now, according to the most recent update from the medical examiner's office, which was about an hour ago, her cause of death is still pending. They do need to perform more studies in order to determine that. However, her manner of death has been determined to be homicide. So again, another tragedy, another child failed by the system, failed by her own parent, her own blood. I am going to keep you guys updated as information comes out pertaining to this case. Please share Genesis's story and let me know what you guys are thinking about this in the comments.